All right, we'll go ahead and get this started tonight. Welcome to the City of Andover City Council meeting, Tuesday, May 9th, 7 p.m. We'll start the call to order to my left. Homer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Homer, City Council Member.
Shelby Carsolari, City Council Member.
Mike Warrington, City Council President.
Troy Tabor, City Council Member.
Tim Berry, City Council Member.
Bud Buchanan, Police Chief.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Chad Russell, Fire Chief.
Rick Lanzis, Director of Public Works and Utilities.
JT Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director of Community Development.
Lance Onstadt, Assistant City Administrator.
Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator.
Okay, we'll do an invocation. James Gillespie, First Baptist Church of Douglas. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you this evening, Lord, and we ask for your blessing to be upon this meeting. Lord, may all the business that be discussed, Lord, be glorifying to you in the best interest of the residents and those who live here in Andover. Father God, I also ask you to watch over our police and the fire departments, Lord, to keep us safe. Lord, I thank you for their presence and for their leadership. Lord, I pray for our schools here. Lord, I pray that you'll protect them, keep them strong in education. Lord, I pray also for our government and administration. Lord, I pray that you lead them and guide them in wisdom. Give them wisdom beyond their means, Lord. Lord, I do again pray that the business tonight will be glorifying to you, that, Lord, that there would be peace and joy in this meeting, Lord. And Lord, we just thank you so much for all the blessings that you give us. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. It's in his name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, pledge allegiance. All right, I'd like to open a public forum, and if anyone would like to speak, come to the podium, say your name and address, and keep it pithy. Anyone? Okay, we'll close the public forum. Acceptance of agenda number 6.
Mr. President,
Yes, Homer?
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, we have a proclamation tonight, and not Homer, but Tim, would you like to read it?
I'm Tim. So I'm going to read this. Public Service Recognition Week is typically celebrated the first week of May since 1985 to honor those who serve our nation as federal, state, county, and local government employees. Today, we recognize that public service benefits all of us in a variety of places and ways, especially over the last year with the 2022 tornado. Whereas the City of Andover recognizes child care providers as necessary workers who provide an important role in supporting and educating children in a warm and loving environment, and whereas the City of Andover recognizes teachers and professors at elementaries, middle schools, high schools, and colleges for their dedication and hard work educating our children, encouraging and guiding them into adulthood, and preparing them for life's challenges in the future. And whereas the City of Andover recognizes our military personnel for their dedication to defend and uphold our Constitution. They are vital for local, state, and national mobilizations and are always ready to serve. And whereas the City of Andover recognizes the police, fire, 911, EMS departments who make personal sacrifices, devoting their time to provide an essential role in public safety and protecting and serving the community, and always attentive of providing life-saving care to those in need at all hours of the day. And whereas the City of Andover recognizes the urban planners as those who improve the well-being of our citizens by designing roads and open spaces to make cities stronger, and as well as building inspectors for enforcing construction codes that keep our buildings safe. And whereas the City of Andover recognizes administrative staff who research, create, and foster policies, strengthening the community's finances, quality of life, economic development, information technology, and human resources. And whereas the City of Andover recognizes city and court clerks, along with accounting and permitting staff as the professional link between citizens and local government as they help to serve as the information center of the community. And whereas the City of Andover recognizes the Public Works Department in their effort to improve the quality of life for our citizens by planning, operating, and maintaining our infrastructure through all seasons. And whereas there are many others who serve in the Andover community in various ways on a daily basis, and we are so grateful for their hard work and contributions. And now therefore, in recognition of their service, I call upon our citizens of Andover to recognize and appreciate and proclaim May 2023 Public Service Recognition Month. That was a mouthful.
That definitely was a mouthful.
Great reading though, Tim. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for doing that tonight. I probably would have stumbled all through that. So
Practiced.
you're an expert at those.
The whole whereas thing throws me.
Yeah.
Who says whereas anymore? Do you use that
Tim.
in your daily?
My grandpappy.
Well, I'm sorry, the lawyer. Who
Yeah. JT.
Whereas legal.
Yeah. All right, number 8, presentation, and Megan, you're going to make that for the CAPS intern.
Good evening, City Council. Tonight, I would like to take the time to recognize a CAPS student who has been interning with us. For those who do not know, CAPS does stand for Center for Advanced Professional Studies. Alex Folger is a student at Andover High School and has been interning with the city under my supervision for all things marketing. At this time, I would like to invite Brian Gregory, the director of Andover CAPS, up to the front to just talk briefly about the program.
Brian, you're missing capstone tonight.
I was there for the first, I guess, 90% of it.
7,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And 90 minutes, is that short enough or a little? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Take your time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know what CAPS is, it's really an innovative program that I think that we're really lucky to have for the juniors and seniors of Andover Central High and Andover High School. We actually had a kind of a historic mark today with the CAPS network. We had our 100th program that was brought in, and we are international. We're in Africa, India, Canada, and the United States. The purpose of our program is really to try to expose today's learners to their tomorrow career. And we do that through partnerships with so many wonderful businesses, organizations, and people in our area. And really, the opportunity that was given to Alex, I can't be more thankful for. She's a student who was thriving in our program, but needed to get more hands-on, needed to go out and experience something that was more real than what a textbook or a lecture could provide. So through the partnership with Megan, I think she thrived, she enjoyed it. I think she added value to the program, and I'm just really proud of her. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Brian. Alex, would you come join me at the front? Alex started working as an intern in January and has been working with the city for just under 4 months. Throughout the internship, Alex has worked on numerous projects. In the very beginning, I handed a 3-page document to Alex and Brian with a list of things to do from photography, social media, press releases, and asked which ones are you most interested, and Alex said, all of them. I want to try everything. One project that she was tasked with was putting together the Andover Chamber of Commerce Pulse magazine. Alex worked on editing text, taking photos, and designing this 30-page document. The Andover Pulse will be printed in June, so you can all see all of the hard work that Alex has put forth on that. Another big project she has taken on was to promote the Alert Andover, our mass texting system. Alex came up with an updated logo for Alert Andover, so you can see that on our website. You can pull that up and see the comparison from the drop shadow back from the early 90s to a more modern design. She also has worked on multiple things over the last couple of months, including social media graphics. She's worked on editing our quarterly newsletter, designing flyers, and so much more. She has been a complete joy to work with. As the first student intern from the CAPS program, I have been very pleased with how things have turned out. All staff members involved in the CAPS program have been great to work with as well, and I look forward to continuing our partnership. Alex, you agreed to do this internship with no payment in return, simply for the chance to learn more about what you might like to do in the future. I am pleased to present you with a check to put towards training and/or education for your future, and we're so grateful for your hard work. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
For those of you that do not know what the CAPS program is, and you have students in the district, really check it out. It's actually a fantastic program. My senior in high school loves it. He wants to become a physical therapist, and he was able to shadow, and I mean, same thing with what Alex is doing, was able to shadow and do some interns. So it's a wonderful program. It really is. It's fantastic, so.
Mr. President?
Yes.
If you also get the chance to, and maybe you are in charge of HR at your place of employment too, I know you can work with Brian on hiring CAP students or for internships just like this. I currently employ one, and Brian, I guess it's about that time I'm going to need another one because he's graduating. So I'd be honored to help with that again. So CAPS is a wonderful program, and you get some great folks that are coming into what they want to do for the business or their career. So it's awesome.
Brian, can you just talk just for a second on how businesses can get in touch with you on if they do need to do interns? Yes. Mhm.
Businesses can reach out in a variety of ways. My phone number and my cell phone is pretty much everywhere on websites. I got business cards. We're a social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can contact district office. There is also a link on the website, but our website's being positioned to a new website where businesses can go in there and they can fill out something. And if anyone just wants a tour to know more about the program, I would be more than willing to walk someone around. It takes about 30 minutes. I talk for about 25 of them. I am a New Yorker, but I do give time for questions, and I would love to do that as well. So if you want to put my phone number into minutes and spread that around the city, I would love for you to do that, because the more people who reach out, the better. It's a good thing when I have to kind of turn away some things, because we just have so many kids that are already out there. So yeah, keep them coming.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, number 9, consent agenda, 9.1 to 9.9.
Mr. President,
Ms. Homer?
move to approve the consent agenda items 9.1 through 9.9 as presented.
I second it.
Okay, we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Nope. Passes 5-0. Okay, number 10, general obligation bond, Series A 2023.
Mr. President and Council, tonight, the first thing you're going to be doing is opening a public hearing. There was letters sent out concerning the public hearing to all property owners of record back on April 12th. It was also published in the Butler's Times Gazette and our website by April 15th. So they all have been notified, so now would when we asked for the public hearing.
Okay. All right, the open a public hearing, and anyone from the public would like to come speak on this, please come to the podium and keep it to 3 minutes, please. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and go to 10.2.
This would be the ordinance for the special assessments, and there will be another mailing going out to all of the property owners of record, letting them know that these are now the final assessment amounts and that they have the opportunity, should they choose to pay them in by noon on June 20th, if they want to pay them off instead of having it spread as specials for over 20 years. And these subdivisions are Cornerstone 11th, Tuscany 3rd, Hodges 6th, and Hodges 7th. So I just asked for the blessing on the ordinance.
Mr. President,
Yes, Homer?
I move to adopt an ordinance levying special assessments against property in Tuscany Addition Phase 3, Cornerstone 11th, and Hodges 6th and 7th subdivision for improvements in said additions, and authorizing staff to send notice to property owners in such additions detailing special assessments, and allowing such property owners until Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, at noon to pay said special assessments in full without incurring interest costs related to debt issued for financing such improvements.
Second.
All right.
Can I have a?
Yes,
ask
any
a
comments?
Question. So not specifically on this, but on this, the part of it where it's, you have to do it by a certain date. So reminder of if you move into a home and there's special assessments, for example, can you just pay them off all right then? Or do you have to wait the
If a
entirety?
project has been bonded and you choose to pay off the specials, you can, but all future interest is, it's not only the principal, but it's also all future interest, and that's by state statute.
So, wow, so if it's a 20-year and a special assessment and you, at year 5, just decide to pay it all off, you're actually still paying the interest as if it had ran the entirety of the 20 years.
We're not a large
That is
enough city
awful.
to make up that interest, because we'd still have to pay it. And we're not large enough. I know Wichita has exempted themselves from that state statute, but they have a little more bang for the buck that they can.
Interesting. I really don't like that. And there's no way that we could like make our own ordinance that, I mean, come on, if a homeowner moves in 10 years in and they're like, no, I don't want to keep paying interest for whomever did it before me and paid it all off, I feel like they should have that opportunity. I'm not asking, I guess it's a law thing, right? So,
We can charter out of it.
Actually, what Donna is saying is that there's no way to escape the interest at law. The city could in fact develop a program based on the time value of money if they wanted to where you could pay off your specials at a reduced interest cost. On the theory, $1 today is worth more than $1 20 years from now. Wichita has such a program. I think what Donna's trying to explain is that I mean, when you're running 4 or 6 or even 16 special assessment areas, that's different than if you have 100, because when somebody pays their specials off in advance, you can use that cash in another area and in another division. So the answer to your question is that a city can develop a program for prepaying special assessments at less than their full principal and interest amount. I think that historically, this city has viewed itself as not being quite big enough to accommodate that sort of cash flow change, because if they were to pay them all off at a reduced interest cost today, well, for the next 20 years, the city's still going to pay the principal and interest. And when that money comes in, it comes in that year, and under the cash basis and budget law, that means you still need to levy enough to make up the other years. So the answer to your question is, yes, you can. The city of Andover has not. If it's something that pretty much has to start with your financial advisor to sort of figure out, if you were going to do it, what the time value of money would be and what sort of discount the city could give for those. I will tell you, it's not a huge problem. Most people do not want to pay their specials off in advance.
okay.
I guess that was my next question, Donna. How many people actually pay their specials off?
When I normally see it is when there's maybe 2 or 3 years left and they're wanting to sell their home specials free. Or maybe it's in the contract between the seller and the buyer that the seller pays off the specials. And at that point, there's not much interest left on it. That's normally when I see it. As far as on this particular case, where somebody pays it off prior to it ever being bonded, those are unicorns. You know, the school district has a piece of it. They will probably pay theirs off. And every now and then, I had one last bond issue where a homeowner did, because they didn't have a mortgage and so they wanted to pay them off. But they really are unicorns.
Thank you both.
All right, any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
The last part of this then would be the resolution for the public, authorizing the public sale of these bonds.
Mr. President,
Yes, Homer?
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing sale of $3,370,000 in Series A 2023 general obligation bonds of the City of Andover, Kansas, and authorizing the City of Andover's bond counsel and financial advisor to prepare the necessary notices and documents to conduct such sale.
Second.
Okay, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, zoning cases. 11.1. Les, are you running these? Okay.
The first item before you, 11.1, is actually the same property as 11.2, so you can kind of think of these together. Many years ago, this property was put into a planned unit development upon annexation to the city. Currently, the owner of the property and some of the adjoining properties has purchased the property with the intent of building only his single-family residence on the property to hold it to some point in the future. And he would like to clear the slate of this planned unit development. What that does is that just essentially deletes all of those provisions that are in the PUD as well as the zone and returns it back to its rural residential county zone, even though it remains in the city annexed into the corporate limits. That's the first step, and then 11.2 we'll talk about further steps that he's asking for.
Okay, anyone?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move to approve an ordinance repealing the planned unit development overlay district for the Amy Lane preliminary PUD and reestablishing the applicable zoning regulations prior to the publication of ordinance 1340, which established the PUD.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. 11.2, vacation petition.
Part of that land that was the Amy Lane planned unit development had been platted many years prior by a previous owner into 3 lots. And part of that platting was to establish some street rights of way, easements, and building setbacks. This owner would like to again clear the slate a little bit there because he only intends to build one single-family residence at this time. Staff has no objection to this, nor do the utility providers, in that in the future, if this owner decides to subdivide the property, he would be back in front of our planning commission and a plat would be filed and proper zoning and so forth. So we have no opposition to this vacation. Your planning commission held the required public hearing and recommends that these vacations be granted.
Mr. President?
Yes, Homer?
So Les, I do have a question. When we're talking about the 75 building setback and 70-foot road right-of-ways and the vacation of this and redoing it, does that do anything for like city easement or anything like that, or?
We have no public utilities out in that area. There is KG&E/Evergy easement that would remain.
Okay, thanks, Les. I move to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission and approve the vacation order as presented for case number Z-VA23-0001, vacating reserves A and B, the platted 75-foot building setback and the 70-foot road right-of-ways for Lot 1, Block 1 of Chance Acres.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, 13.1 zoning amendment, the Heritage Preliminary PUD. Les, is that also you?
Yes, it is. And you've got a checklist there, Mike, that you'll need to run through.
Okay.
Mike,
All
you
right.
said 13.1, but it's 11.3.
11.3. Thank you. Okay, this is zoning case Z-PUD 23-0002. This applicant requesting the amendment of the Heritage preliminary plan unit development to amend the general provisions of and create parcel 3 and requiring all dwelling units within parcel 3 to access the garage from the front of the lot by the way of the street and reducing the minimum side yard setback from 6 feet to 5 feet on the property generally located west of Sunset Drive and north of Lexington Lane, Andover, Kansas. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the council if they intend to disqualify themselves from participating with this case because of any conflict of interest.
No.
I will ask the council if they have received any ex parte verbal or written communication prior to the agenda item which they would like to share.
No.
No. Has the city clerk received any protest petitions on this case?
No protest petitions were filed in the office of the city clerk within the required 15 days following the public hearing.
Good job, Lance. I ask the council members if they have received the copies of the draft minutes and planning commission of April 18th, 2023, which summarizes the hearing on the case.
Yes.
Yes. I'd like to call on Les Mangus to provide us any report on the case.
This amendment to the Heritage Planned Unit Development's a bit of housekeeping. As we began to receive building permit applications for the second edition at Heritage, we found out that the developer had made a bit of a change on a few of the lots in the second edition where they would not be served by garages in the rear with alleys as the remainder of the Heritage Commons product. And in order to make his product work, he was not going to use the zero lot line method where one side of a house was adjacent to the property line and the other had a required side yard. He intended to more center the houses with smaller setbacks on either side and serve the garage from the front. So this application just clears that up, which essentially allows that tier of lots on the west side of the property to be configured in more of a conventional single-family manner with the house centered in the lot and front-facing garages. Your planning commission held the required public hearing and recommends this amendment be adopted.
No problems with utilities or anything within that 1 foot difference?
No, the utilities are either in the rear in an easement or in the front yard in easements and in street right-of-way.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Les?
Mr. Mayor, or Mr. President, I do have a question for maybe JT. When we're looking at a couple of these zoning amendments on the legal implications, you've cited the factors addressed or derived from Supreme Court of Kansas decision in Golden versus City of Overland Park. What is this? Can you share me the short snippet of what that, like, why are we citing that, or?
You know, in making zoning decisions, the city council sits in a quasi judicial capacity. You're to make decisions based on the facts as are presented, you know, without any of the politics that might be associated with a governing body's normal business. That particular case is sort of the calling card for zoning cases in that it outlined what the court determined were the golden factors named for the case, not for the golden rule, but for the Goldens. And that there are certain things that planning commission and a city council could consider. You can add to them, and I think Andover might even have one or two extra that they've looked at over time. But in order to stay in the safe zone, we consider all of those factors. So the administrator writes a report that outlines those factors. The Planning Commission considers those and decides whether or not they agree with the administrator. And those are the factors and findings that you need to support when you're making your decision whether or not to allow the rezoning, or in this case, a zoning amendment.
Thank you,
So
JT.
That's it.
Appreciate it.
Any other comments? Okay, has there been any written communication been received?
No.
Does the applicant wish to present any new information? No? Okay, we'll open this up for public comment. We would welcome anyone interested in this agenda item to come to the podium and give your name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. The government body has been provided the draft minutes, and the video of the public hearing has been made available. So please limit your comments to this information not previously shared at the public hearing on April 18th, 2023. Does anyone from the public have any new information? Looks like no. Council have any questions? Does the applicant have any further responses? Nope. Okay. Council?
Mr. President?
Yes.
And I think, I just want to make a quick comment that I think we've talked before, Tim has talked about in the past, what goes on in here might seem quick to the public or in the video in the future, but there's also been a whole separate planning and zoning commission meeting that has gone over the said points that legal counsel had just described in the Golden versus City of Overland Park. So it's not that we're doing this in the span of 5 minutes. It's been planned and zoned up to this point. So I just appreciate that. Mr. President, I move to adopt an ordinance approving the recommendation of the Planning Commission for zoning case Z PUD 23-0002, amending the Heritage Preliminary PUD Plan.
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Also like to, any persons agreed by this final decision of this council on this matter has 30 days after today's action within which to appeal to district court. Okay, we'll move on to 11.4, the zoning amendment Cornerstone preliminary. Unless you want to say anything first, or? Okay, all right, yep. All right, rezoning checklist. This is for the case number Z PUD 23-0001. We did these a little backwards, or we're doing one after two. This is an application requesting an amendment on the Cornerstone Addition Preliminary Plan Unit Development to amend the general provisions and zoning for parcels 15A and 15B for the SF-3 single-family residential, zero lot line district to the MF-2 attached single-family residential district on the property generally located at the northwest corner of North Andover Road and West 21st Street, Andover, Kansas. Before we proceed for the hearing, I'll ask the council if they intend to disqualify themselves from participating in any case because of any conflict of interest.
No.
I'll ask the council if any of them have received any ex parte verbal or written communication prior to the agenda item, which they would like to share.
No.
Has the city clerk received any protest petitions on this case?
No protest petitions have been received in the office of the city clerk.
All right. I'll now ask the council if they've all received the copies of the draft minutes of the Planning Commission on April 18th, 2023, which summarizes the hearing on the case.
Yes.
Yes. I'd like to call on Les Mangus to provide us a report on the case.
the developers of the Courtyards product there at the Cornerstone Edition at the northwest corner of 21st Street and Andover Road have also purchased this plus or minus 12-acre subject property. And they intend to offer a bit of a different product here in that they would build townhouses, individually owned single-family residences that are attached and separated only by a vertical plane. The houses actually touch each other, but they're individually owned. Their intent is for these to be 2- and 3-family attached with a public street that generally serves down the center of the development, and then the individual houses would have garages that actually face an alley. It's a bit of a different product, but it's just one more offering that's in the toolbox to try to cover the market and the needs of today's house buyer. Your Planning Commission has held the required public hearing on this amendment and recommends approval. I will tell you that tonight at the subdivision committee, we saw the plat, the final PUD plan of this subdivision, and that will be before your Planning Commission probably at their next meeting.
Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. President, I do have a question.
Yes.
Les, will this, so currently you're saying there's nothing planned there right now? Or as far as the 12-acre piece?
Let me get back to that ordinance to see what the existing zone is.
I guess my question will be eventually, and maybe you can just answer it yes or no, is if this was slated to be 45 zero lot line homes, is this going to add to the capacity of that zone? I mean, is it going to be now triple that when you're talking about 3 townhomes connected together? Or is it the same footprint?
Maybe Jason Gish is here on behalf of the developer. Maybe he could answer that question about the change in the number of dwelling units between what's existing zone and proposed.
Thanks, Jason.
Yes, certainly. Jason Gish, MKEC Engineering, representing the applicant. Didn't bring my glasses in and I didn't bring a copy, but the zoning previous, and I may not get this exactly right, but it was zoned more as a higher use, maybe even, I can't remember if it had apartment uses allowed, but it definitely had more commercial, so I don't know if it was up to the B3 level, but it definitely had a higher use. And so when Perfection purchased that from Ritchie Development, their world is more of the residential market. And so we basically tried to adapt this new product that is new to them as well, that they've come up with specifically for the parcel 15A and 15B. Like I said, I don't have that exact, but generally, I believe the zoning classification actually is probably lesser than what it was previously.
Thank you. I appreciate that information, Jason. Thank you.
Those were all B3 before, weren't they, Les?
I'm digging up that existing plan.
I think it's been
development.
so many different
Put
things,
Jason
right?
on the spot there.
I think the original was a business park of some sort with maybe some type of condos or something that was on it. Do you remember that, Troy?
Yeah, I thought it was actually gonna be a Walmart marketplace or something.
That's what I originally.
Originally, the parcel was zoned for business.
It's a long time ago, though.
It was changed with the other courtyards to the SF3 zero lot line, single-family residential.
It's been changed 2 or 3 times.
Did Layham
Yes,
do
this would be the third change to the parcel.
Was it George that did not, that change, I think? Was that the apartments?
Yeah, that was in
That was
19.
super fun, yeah.
That was the courtyard site
Okay.
to the south.
This thing is working slow.
No, Les, I think that answered my question. I mean, going back to Troy, in 2019, there was some scuffle on, the apartments and, getting that in that area. And I think this is moving more in the direction of, I don't want to say they're the same people, maybe as the Heritage, so the Commons and then zero lot line homes kind of over there with the townhomes. So, I mean, I think it's good for the area and, it's not a Walmart, right?
Yep,
So,
that's a good look.
thanks, Mr. President.
All right. Okay, we may come back to you. All right, have anyone received any communication? This is to the clerk, so any written communication been received?
No written communications have been received.
Okay, good. And does the applicant wish to present any new information? No? We'll open up a public comment here. We would like to welcome everyone interested in this agenda item to come to the podium, give their name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Governing body has been provided the draft minutes of the video of the public hearing has been made available, so please limit your comments to information previously shared, information not previously shared, sorry about that, at the public hearing held on April 18th, 2023. Does anyone from the public have any new information? Doesn't look like it. Does the applicant have any further information? Nope. Okay. Council?
I did find that the SF3 zoning allowed up to 77 dwelling units. And the current proposal would allow a maximum of 85 units, so just 8 units
Difference.
maximum.
Thanks, Les, for taking the time to look that up. Appreciate that.
Not a big difference there. Yeah. Council, how would you like to act?
Mr. President,
Yes, Homer?
move to adopt an ordinance approving the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission for zoning case Z PUD 23-0001, amending the Cornerstone preliminary PUD plan.
Second.
Any other comments?
Mr. President, I do have one.
Yes.
Les, does this mean, because I think we've already done 15B in site plan, will this have to come to site plan as well? No?
The final.
These are individually owned lots, so they would not come to site plan.
Okay.
Only if there were entry monuments on the arterial street, and I don't believe they propose those since the access to this property will actually be off of Cornerstone Parkway.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 5-0. Persons agreed by this final decision of the council on the matter has 30 days after today's action within which to appeal to district court. Okay, we'll move on to 12.1, Founders Parkway Project. Les, and that's you again.
The ordinance before you tonight is just that next step in the eminent domain process to acquire the necessary rights-of-ways and easements to build Founders Parkway between Andover Road and Allen Street.
Mr. President.
Yes, Homer?
Move to adopt an ordinance authorizing and providing for the condemnation and acquisition of private property by eminent domain for the use of the city of Andover, Kansas pursuant to KSA 26-201.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, we'll move on to 13.1, fireworks sale and discharge ordinance. And Lance.
Mr. President, Council, at the April workshop, staff held or led a discussion regarding what has traditionally been offered as a designated shooting site for fireworks at the 13th Street Sports Park. The discussion really centered around the continuation of that practice. Obviously, this year, during June and July, the 13th Street Sports Park will largely be under construction. And then going forward through next year, and then going forward, part of those improvements call for native prairie restoration. So those were the points that we were discussing at the April workshop about whether or not to continue offering that as a public site for shooting fireworks. Based on the guidance that the governing body gave staff to cease offering that as a public facility for shooting fireworks, the ordinance before you removes any reference to a public discharge site from the ordinance, from our regulations concerning fireworks. Questions I will try to answer. I do want to comment on another governing body question where how does enforcement work if somebody should violate that? The ordinance as existing previously to this ordinance does have enforcement built into it already.
So, I mean, Buck's gonna stake out over there?
Garland will.
I actually talked to Captain Graber about this yesterday, and we'll increase patrol just to make sure that we're being proactive with it, knowing what's coming next year. We want to make sure that we try to help any way possible.
Will we have signs or anything like that out as well?
Yeah, I
Or
know.
barricades?
Your Director of Public Works and Utilities has already started working with his staff on signage. I know our Public Information Officer will also do proactive communications of this change as well, if adopted.
Social media and such?
Correct.
Maybe even handouts at the fires, the tents that we currently have.
I think we do. I think, again, your Director of Public Works and Utilities has worked on signage that traditionally goes at the sale locations of fireworks. So that message will be there too.
Council, how would you like to act?
Mr. President.
Yes, Homer?
I move to adopt an ordinance repealing Chapter 13, Article 2, Section 13-208.2I21, and amending Chapter 13, Article 2, Section 13-208.3 of the Code of the City of Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Any additional comments?
Pretty special.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. 13.2, resolution fireworks sale and discharge dates and times. Lance, that's you again.
So the resolution for your consideration actually sets the time that it's that one can sell and both discharge fireworks for 2023. So what we've done in 23 with this resolution is mirror the exact dates and times that the governing body approved from 2022. Just put the new dates on. So any questions, I'll do my best to answer those.
Will we put these on social media so everyone can see?
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt, sorry, Homer. Move to adopt a resolution outlining the sale and discharge of fireworks inside the city limits of Andover for the 2023 4th of July holiday.
Second.
All right, any additional comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, moving along to 14.1, Public Works Purchase Compact Roller. Rick?
Mr. President and Council, the 2023 approved budget included a CIP for the replacement of the current 34-year-old roller.
Did you say 34?
Yes, I did.
That's awesome, actually. That's
This roller is used primarily by our department when making large crack repairs or asphalt patches to get the compacity density into the asphalt so the patch or repair lasts a little bit longer. As it being 34 years old, you can imagine that repair parts are no longer being manufactured and some inventive repairs have been made in the past to keep it prolonged and running. This year, we've had a few issues, and I believe we had to rent one for a little while to keep going until we could get the bids out and get a replacement. Per our purchasing policy, this was advertised on our website as normal. We did only receive one bid. However, that bid was within our purchase limits and met all the specifications, and our staff has vetted that bid and are comfortable with it. And more importantly, this happens to be available within 14 days, and we actually could use that. They're hoping to make the existing one last to 14 days. So we would ask for your approval on this purchase.
Where is this coming from?
This is coming from Central Power and Services. It's a vendor over on West Street.
Yeah.
They are a new player in this, so to speak. They're not the brand necessarily, but Central Power is starting to expand into more and more stuff. I think they're doing lifts too and some other things like that.
Yeah, they're shipping it in from somewhere.
Sure, they don't
Probably
manufacture
the
it.
East Coast or somewhere.
I think it's a Doomson Liber or something like that. I'm not really sure. Dynamac. But we've looked at them and we're comfortable with them.
Are we going to be able to get anything for our old one? Are we going to trade it off or?
Well, based on our last Purple Wave sale, I'm a little hesitant to guess what we'll get. On one of the items, we got way more than I thought we were going to get. On another item, not quite as much. So it's really kind of hit or miss, and it's who's desiring it at the time. But we will put it on Purple Wave. Hopefully, we can get $4,000 or $5,000 for it.
That's pretty good for 34 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rick, Mr. President. So when in those 14 days, how often, you said we had to rent one. If we didn't buy one, how much would we be spending in rental fees, renting this?
So it's the rental fees, it's the time staff has to go spend.
Go
pick
get
up,
it, find a trailer.
Or have it, pay to have it delivered. The rental fees, we will definitely save our money back if that's what you're getting to versus renting it. And it's also the amount of time that's spent having staff run, pick it up, and then take it back. And then when you're renting the pieces of equipment, typically we rent it by the week because, when you rent equipment, after you get past the second day, you might as well pay for the week. But if you're not renting it by the week, then it's a little bit of a stress trying to get it all used up and in time and get it sent back and returned. So I don't want to say it's just a convenience for the staff, but it sure makes the job a lot easier to do when they know that piece of equipment's out there and they can go grab it and go do the work. We do rent some pieces of equipment because it doesn't really make sense to buy everything we need, but this is a piece of equipment that I feel like we really need to have.
And then this might be for Jenny or Lance. When we're talking about the, why this is coming to the city council in regards to, we only have one bid, it was in the budget. Do we need to revamp our purchasing policy so that you guys could go ahead and do this?
I don't know if we go out for bid and only one comes in, it doesn't come to us, because that's a red flag normally. So I don't know if I would, in this case, say that. You know what I mean? So we went out for bids. Normally we would approve the winning bid, but there's only one bid. Well, what I'm saying is, if there's suddenly now everything only has one bid and it never comes to us, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that anyone here would do that, but that's could potentially be the perception, just in this case, though. Not to say that we still shouldn't look at them approving more, but
And yeah, there's all kinds of variables. I guess I was just thinking, since this one was in budget, it wasn't too far out of the ballpark as far as, a red flag or anything. So maybe that's what I was thinking.
Would tell you it's actually not here just because of the bid results, though. It's here because of the price. So the way that our purchasing policy reads is anything over $10,000 has to come to the governing body, even if it's budgeted. If it's 10 to 25, it can be on your consent agenda, but if it's north of 25, like this piece of equipment, then it goes on your regular agenda. Those thresholds are certainly something, that are the discretion of the governing body. If you're interested in changing that, whether or not one bid impact, that's kind of two separate philosophical questions for you to consider.
And we actually just changed it last year, correct? Didn't we just
A
up
couple
to
years ago, I think we upped.
years ago?
We upped the, went it
I
from
think it might have been
5,000
in
to
like
10,000.
2018, 19 maybe. It was before I was city administrator. So
I thought
there were some time
No.
periods
Yeah.
during COVID emergency, but that were very clear during emergency. During tornado emergency, there's some.
Yeah, we talked about
allowance.
it in a workshop and we voted on it because Homer and I were here.
I think it was,
Spending power of department heads and spending.
Okay,
power
so
of-
it might have been late 19, early 20.
Because I thought we increased yours,
Yes, we did.
everybody's kind of.
Yeah, then it might have been early 20. That's this most recent it's been, for sure.
yes.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes, Tim?
I move we approve the purchase of compact roller in the amount of $44,225 from Central Power Systems and Services, Wichita, Kansas.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
I guess I have a question. When you do get bids back like this on equipment, one or more bids, do you also just go search for the product to see if it's for sale online?
You mean like, well, so what we've found, even when we're trying to get budget numbers on equipment, very few places will give you pricing. And we really have to beat them up because they don't want to show their hand on what their price is on equipment. When I say equipment, I'm talking large equipment like rollers and graders and backhoes and those such things. And they'll give us like, it's in a range of, and then we try to put that into our budget. And then, when you go to purchase, you can find used equipment out there, but when you're trying to find new price equipment, it just seems to be in that industry, for whatever reason, there's not any pricing listed, like on web price or anything like that. You could go and solicit proposals from people, and go ask them to give you a proposal price and such. Normally, it seems to be really hit or miss anymore. Sometimes we'll get a bunch of prices on things or a bunch of bids, and then sometimes we'll get one or none. It's the inconsistencies there a little bit right now. But to answer your question, normally on this type of equipment, you're really hard pressed to be able to go out and say, okay, what does a roller cost? Because there's so many variables in their specifications and pricing that they just don't usually list those. Same for backhoes. We are working on I know this for sure because we're working on our proposed budget, and just trying to get pricing on some of our large equipment was very difficult, even when we told them, we're not asking you to give us a purchase price right now, we're asking you to give us something we can put in our budget. So we know we can at least buy one brand, and it's difficult at times to get them to give you that information.
Thank you.
So I think, Troy, you're saying is you can't just buy it on Amazon? I think that's,
I think there's some
There's some online
brands
looking at
sold
right here.
Oh, is
that
there?
come from some other countries that are out there that you could probably do that, but
To follow up with Troy's question, do we not have a state contract we can go through? Does the state of Kansas not do?
so we tell people in our pricing that they can use the Sourcewell pricing, which is usually what a lot of them will include. And often somebody will give us their price and it includes the Sourcewell pricing. There's certain things that have a state pricing. There are certain things that don't. I'm not aware of anything on something like this size.
Yeah, I think it's important that we keep the bid process, and we have had some lately that we've had single bids come in on some random things, but most of the time it's a couple or two or three or whatever. But it's good to see what else is out there, because, I mean, in your specifications, you don't ever say, I want this brand. They may come back with 2 or 3 different brands, with 3 different people bidding on it. And you may say, oh, I never thought about that one.
So we are very clear with the governing body when we do that with one brand. If you'll remember, we did recently buy a new VACCON, a combination vacuum truck, and we went Sourcewell pricing on that, and we went that specific, that vendor, because they would take our trade in, and that vendor is going to give you the best price on trading, because it was that piece of equipment. It was just an updated model, and our staff was very familiar with the operation of that piece of equipment, and our experience with it has been very, very good. And the pricing was what, in the ballpark of what we thought. Generally speaking, what we do is we write our specs up to meet the minimums of what we need to do the job. So we look at, how, like in this particular case, we look at the weight of the roller, we look at the width of the roller, and those type of things, and make sure those meet our specifications, and then we write our specifications to meet that. And we try not to write it towards just to meet one particular vendor, and we write up to meet as many vendors as possible. And then when we get the bids in, because we don't always know who's going to bid, we do evaluate it, because the city does reserve the right to waive irregularities or pick its best bid that it feels is for its. Every now and then, you probably will see staff come and recommend something that may not be the low bid. It's rare, because generally those things get weeded out with your specifications that the staff writes.
And there's rare circumstances that we have, like software that Donna uses or something that you've used for a long time, and you have a good rapport with that software. And I think, sometimes that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we generally don't bid intellectual items like software. We usually select those based on what the software does. And then, like our Cartograph, our asset management system, we went through a long selection process. We vetted it with our staff to make sure our staff was going to have buy-in on it and be willing to use it when we gave it to them to use. And some of those things. And then our engineering usually is not done based on bid, it's done on selection, because it's hard to kind of bid those dollar for dollar. But on purchasing of products or construction type of things, usually it's typically done through a bidding process.
Okay. Any other comments? Anyone? Okay, we'll move on to executive session 15.1, land acquisition, KSA 75-4319B6.
Mr. President,
Yes, Homer?
I move to recess into executive session for discussions relating to the acquisition of real property per KSA 75-4319B6. Session to include governing body, city attorney, city administrator, and director of community development, and resume in open session at 8:15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, let's executive session.
Mr. Mayor, or Mr. President.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes 5-0.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move to authorize the Director of Community Development to offer Robert J. Ain the just compensation with administrative adjustment to purchase property for the street right-of-way for parcel R21880 for the Yorktown Parkway Improvement Project.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 5-0. Okay, member items. Start with Homer.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Today I took part in an emergency meeting for REAP, and was the Andover, I guess, representation for that. And we granted, REAP granted, so REAP stands for Regional Economic Area Partnership. And we granted $10,000 for the Small Community Air Service Development, SCASD grant. We approved that allocation today to show our support, or help show REAP support for the area for airlines going to the eastern seaboard, specifically Washington DC area. Yeah, so.
Cool.
And not Dulles, the smaller airport in DC. So that was pretty cool, and that's what I had. Appreciate all the planning and stuff that went into the anniversary event that we did on April 29th with the pancake breakfast and the video slides. I don't know if anyone caught it when Prairie Creek Choir was singing, the rainbow picture up above on the presentation was there, and they were singing a song about rainbows. So it was pretty cool. It was
Yeah, I was
definitely.
still serving pancakes. I didn't get to see it, sorry.
Sorry, Tim. At least you had pancakes on your side. That's all I had.
All right, Shelby, you have anything?
No items.
Troy?
Yeah, a couple quick things. I was in a WAMPO meeting today, and they were talking about the East Kellogg expansion project through Onewood, and they had mentioned that the construction will most likely begin in the summer of 2025 for that. They're still doing all the planning and property and all that kind of stuff.
It hasn't been bid out or anything yet, has it?
You mean well, there's a number, but no, because they're still planning, so they don't have all that, yeah. It takes a long time for that kind of stuff to happen. The question I would have is, so I'm on the board of CASA, the Child Appointed Special Advocates for Children, and we were talking about, we're fundraising mode right now, so something was brought up that City of Augusta has a liquor tax, or maybe they have access to some liquor tax that they're able to give out. I don't think we have a liquor tax here. We do have a liquor tax.
We
It's the
do,
same.
and that's already been allocated. Donna, do you have the answer on where that is? Because I'll muddle it up.
When, if you read the state rules on the liquor tax, Butler County is pulled out and is by itself from every other county. And half of it goes to park improvements, and the other half goes to general fund to be used on alcohol treatment or projects that help with that. So part of that is the SROs, their programs in the schools. I think we do a public funds grant to one of the mental health agencies that deals with some of that. So that's where that funding goes.
So the question would be, could a nonprofit like SCAR for CASA, who both work with children, a lot of times taken out of the homes for, those types of issues, even ask? And again,
That's-
Augusta certainly does give them both.
Sure, that's what your grant and public funds process is for. So you're using general fund money to make grants to not-for-profits through an annual application process.
When is that again?
So you've got 3 members of your governing body that annually serve on that. We just did it in April, and they bring their recommendation to the governing body, and you all vote on that. I believe that was at your first meeting in April.
Maybe.
I think so.
It's, so,
So next year.
Scarf received funding at that, I believe, $5,000. I'm shooting blindly, so I will continue to look to give you that answer as you continue to go through member items.
I don't think CASA even asked.
No, I do not believe, because I sit on the committee as well. I do not believe CASA had an application, but SCARF did. I think you mentioned them as well. SCARF has been a return applicant annually.
Okay.
We had at least 5, I think, we approved.
I'll look for that as you guys continue on.
The next question would be same, but with the opioid settlement, can those kinds of funds be used for organizations like that?
We'll have to look deeper into exactly what the law is. There's actually a requirement for that one. We have to do it for drug treatment, and I don't know the full details behind it, but we'll be bringing it to you next session. One of the items we're actually needing to buy is a TrueNarc drug detection type kit for our first responders and everyone else. So, but I'll have to look more into that, what exactly we can spend that money on.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then the last thing from CASA is there's a cornhole tournament fundraiser that we're holding at Sugar Shane's in Augusta on June 17th at 1 p.m. So if anybody wants to go throw beanbags.
I'm down.
All right, that's cool. That's it. Thank you. Oh, wait, no, I didn't want to question. The Andover expansion, or the Kellogg expansion that's going to affect the Andover Road, I don't recall the illustration where it showed on the side of the road where, like, in the bag cleaners are. Would it go into that parking lot, the last drawings that we saw, or not?
Troy, I don't recall. I'll have to look at that drawing. But it seemed, because it added a dedicated right turn lane, that it required more right-of-way on the west side than on the east side.
Okay, that's what I remembered, but then when I was asked that question today, I couldn't off the top of my head really definitively answer it. So, okay, you don't mind at some point. That's all. Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Tim?
Wait, no, my son's home.
Oh, yeah,
From college.
that's exciting.
Oh, that's awesome.
Jerome home this week.
I have a few things. I just want everybody to keep their prayers and thoughts to the wonderful lady that we lost in a fire last week. It's a sad deal. And Chief, have we figured out the cause of that yet? Has it been released? I guess maybe I should ask that.
We have not released a cause, but speaking with the investigators, it remains under investigation. Likely, it's going to be called undetermined.
Okay. So please make sure your smoke detectors and everything, put your barbecue grills out. Try not to start your house on fire. I will give big kudos out to our firefighters. I was speaking to a couple Sedgwick County and a couple Wichita firefighters, and they actually call it an honor and a privilege to work with our firefighters. It's amazing when you think about, Sedgwick County and Wichita being such a huge organization and have so much money for training and firefighters, and then you come to Andover and they enjoy working with their guys, and they all mesh really well. So Chief, I want to thank you for that. I'm very proud to say that, I live in Andover and we have one of the best fire departments in the state, so.
I'll make sure they know. Thank you.
Another thing I want to say, and this isn't directed to any business in town, but if you need help with taxes, go to the chamber. If you need help with state taxes, come find me. I'll find somebody to help you. The state is going to come and they're going to get their money, whether or not you pay them or not. So not really for y'all here, but more for people listening, if you need help, go to the chamber, go get some help, with your taxes, because Uncle Sam and Mr. State, they're going to come and take your business away from you. There's been several businesses, maybe not here in Andover, but in the Wichita market that have been repossessed or, from the Kansas Department of Revenue. And just pay your taxes, and if you need help, come find it. Somebody is out there that will help. And then lastly, graduates, congratulations to all Andover High and Andover Central High graduates of 2023. My oldest son is graduating on Sunday. It's exciting. So I just want to wish congratulations to all the hard work that all those guys and gals put out. You know, it's a lot harder now going through high school than when most of us were in high school. So I just want to say congratulations to those guys and gals. That's it, Mr. President.
Awesome. All right, I have a few things. I sent a message to Chief Russell this past week on International Fire Day, and hopefully y'all had a good celebration and just, you know, just good thoughts of all the awesome things y'all do. You know, from just getting to the fires and getting them out and pulling people out of the houses, and of course, you know, what happened this past week was pretty sad too, so. But, you know, you got there and you did what you got to do. So we're always proud of y'all. Another thing I talked to Chief Buchanan about, which it's going to be on one of our agendas, is street legal golf carts. And I know that we're talking about that in June at workshops. But, you know, summer's coming up and people are going to be running around on their golf carts in neighborhoods and stuff, and we just want them to be aware and safe and drive it legal. And we'll have more stuff to come out on that, I guess, in a workshop in June. Right, Jenny? Okay. I also want to say congratulations to my oldest, Audrey. She's graduating this Friday with her master's degree from Emporia. So she has a job already lined out and ready to start the next part of her life. Wow. That was pretty cool. Jenny?
Yes, Council President and governing body, I did find at the last meeting in March, just under $18,000 were awarded to 7 not-for-profits, including Artie Community Food Bank, Family Life Center Safe House, Hands to Serve, Sunshine Children's Home. That's where I was getting scarf, but specifically the Children's Home, Andover Senior Center, and Caring and Cherry.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Staff?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Let's go home.
These are cool. Whoever put these together.
Yeah, I know, these are so
Okay.
cool.
Did it. It's not
They're
cool.
so cute.
But should I not eat this? Is that what you're saying? Don't eat it. I'm going for it. Go for it.